how perspective changes everything. The best way to explain this was, there was once two shoe salesmen specifically, and they went to the desert. They were both sent to the same desert, and they got to this desert, and in the desert there was a town, and in the town there were people there, and the two salesmen were given the identical same jobs. They had the same shoes to sell, and they were going to go out there and sell as many shoes as they could. So they approached this one town in the desert, and the first salesman had an attitude whereby he went to the town to initially have a look, do some market research, see what people wanted, all that kind of stuff, and then was going to come back and report back to his sales manager. The second salesperson went and did exactly the same. He went, or she went, to the same desert, the same town in the same desert, and wanted to do the market research and come back to the salesperson, or sales manager rather, and report back with their findings. So you have two identical people, let's assume, and what was the difference was the fact that these two salespeople had totally different perspectives, and it sums up, or it was summed up like this. So the first salesperson came running back to the sales manager, and they were like, this town, no one sells, or no one actually wears shoes in the town. In terms of, they had the perspective that because no one sold shoes to them already, or that they weren't wearing any shoes, there was this massive opportunity to give everyone a pair of shoes in the town. The second salesperson came running back, and they were like, no one sells or no one wears shoes in this town. In terms of, they came back reporting to the same manager that no one was wearing shoes, and therefore no one would buy shoes from him. So you have the same opportunity, or you have the same scenario, you have the same people given that same opportunity, but they see it from different perspectives, right? One person sees the problem, the other person sees the opportunity. And what I want to define and talk about is how your perspective changes everything, because your perspective, i.e. the way you look at things, the way you think about things, not only has an impact, it puts your blinkers on in terms of everything that you see and everything that you therefore do as a consequence of the way that you're looking at things. So if we relate this back to health and fitness, right? In terms of what we're doing here in York. If you look at helping someone to get fit and healthy again, it really does boil down to how people see the issue, or how they see their everyday, or how they see their habits, how they see everything they do. Like, take for instance, if someone is looking to lose some weight and tone up, right? That's the £1,000,000 question that everyone asks. How do I lose weight and tone up? And some people are going to see the weight that they're going to lose as a problem, or they're going to see all the problems surrounding the fact that they've got this weight to lose, or there's someone that's got weight to lose, but they're going to see the opportunity in terms of the positives. So it's not so much about just positives and negatives, it's about how you see or how you perceive anything, but specifically with health and fitness, do you see only the problems, in which case you're only going to see the problems, you're only going to see more problems, or are you going to see the opportunity in terms of being able to do something about it, that you get to do something about it? All right, so you have one perspective which is relatively negative and one which is positive, I guess, but they're opposing and they're definitely mutually exclusive. All right, in terms of you get more of what you see. So relating back to the salesperson who was sent to the desert, if all they saw was that people didn't wear shoes and weren't wearing shoes, and why the hell would they want any shoes, then that's all they're going to see. Whereas if you see the opportunity in that no one wears shoes yet, then you have thousands of people to sell shoes to, right? So the other aspect I wanted to talk about is not only perspective, but it's also our language, in terms of the language that we use, because it is so... It's one thing to define your perspective based on things that you say to yourself constantly, in terms of the story you're telling yourself. It's another thing to then actually verbalize that stuff. So let me explain. If you just say to yourself that it's really difficult to lose this weight, shall we say, then that is all you're going to see. You're going to see only the problems, only the obstacles that get in the way from you losing this weight. Whereas if you say it out loud, many studies have shown that this multiplies and makes it even harder for yourself, because you're using that language. Because the language you use expresses what is going on in our head, right? And it's been proven through many studies that if you verbalize, if you actually say these negative and basically if you say these negative things out loud, they're going to have even more of an impact, and it's going to take even more work to kind of reverse those and get back to either parity or start shifting your focus the other way. So it's very important to be guarded and to be aware of what language you use, both on a regular basis in your inner monologue, as well as what you write, and definitely what you say as well, what you say out loud, because again, it comes down to this concept of the RAS, right? The RAS in your head. It's the basically your body or your brain's filtering system, in that right now I have 1 billion bits of information all being thrown at me right now, in terms of through all of my senses, and if I didn't have a filter of some sort, my brain would just go into meltdown. Whereas what actually happens is this filtering system helps the brain to filter out the stuff that I don't need to become aware of, the information that I don't need, and it only lets me see what I need to see, right? And what it thinks I need to see is based on the way I perceive the world, the way I believe things are, in terms of how I see everything working, in terms of how I see either the problems or the solutions. Am I more problem focused in terms of looking out for everything that is going wrong, or kind of out of my control, or do I look for the solutions? Am I more driven towards the things that I get to do to change my life? Okay, so there's this perspective that kind of almost like a hat, almost like something that is in your head, that you place on your head, kind of thing, that kind of blinkers you to the extent that it impacts everything you do, the decisions you make, the decisions you take, and the actions that ultimately you take. And it's kind of like it's a ongoing circle, or a upward or downward spiral kind of thing, in terms of what you believe, and your perspective is going to impact what you do, and what you do then impacts what results you get, and therefore what results you get impacts how you see the world. And it's just like a circle that goes round and round, and it's about breaking that circle if you want different results by hitting or breaking one of those elements of that circle. And one way is to change your perspective through your language and through how you see the world, i.e. through looking for the problems or looking for the solutions, and treating your life as something that you get to do, get to develop, get to cultivate, or one that you get to have happen to you that you have no control over. So that's my perspective on perspective, and how I think it has a massive impact, can have a massive impact on the rest of your life, really. So it's about, first of all, being aware of what your perspective is, of where your beliefs lie, of what you believe in, and then deciding and drawing a line in the sand as to whether you are happy with those, whether you want to change anything, and if you do, working out how to do that.